Hello, my name is Debbie Warden. I'm a longtime resident of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I have a craft that I wanted to share with you. I make sailors' valentines. It's a couple of 100-year-old West Indian craft. What it is it's a sextant box that someone in the West Indies has put seashells in. So about 200 years ago, when all of the trade was going from Europe and the West Indies and back to Europe, the ships were navigated with a sextant. Sextant was used to find their location based on different planets and stars that they were looking at through the sextant compared to the horizon. And that's how they navigated the ships back then. The sextants were highly revered because that was the only way that they had to navigate. They were always in a 8-sided box. They were stored in an 8-sided box that was usually mahogany or some really beautiful material. And what they did back then was some of the sailors would leave the box from the sextant in the West Indies. And when they took their shipment of sugar cane or molasses or whatever they were loaded with back to Europe, they would then pick up a bunch of ballast and sail back down here empty. And then when they got here, someone would have put the seashells in the 8-sided box called the sailor's valentine. They always have a heart in the middle. Some of them would say, "I love you," or "ever thine," different sayings from back then. So what I brought today are my sailor's valentines that I have crafted, my 8-sided boxes, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about how I do them. This first box is just the box with the back, and I start to map out my design on the bottom. After I've decided what design I'm going to use, then the sections are divided with poster board, and they're stuffed with pillow stuffing, preferably cotton, some sort of a cotton batting. And this was done hundreds of years ago. They were separated by some sort of a paper or cardboard, and they were lined with some sort of a cotton batting. So then after that, I fill the box. So this is one of the ones that I've completed. Has a heart in the middle, of course. This particular box cannot be worked on. It cannot be opened. So it's not as desirable as some of the others that I've made. The next one that I've done also has a heart in the middle. They always do. And as you can see, the seashells that I use have different colors. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the different colors. This is another one that I completed. This is just a mosaic. It's not a sailor's valentine, but it's supposed to represent a basket with flowers in it. So let's talk about some of the colors of the seashells and how they grow. I brought some here for you to see. Mosaics. I got very interested in the colors of the seashells and wanted to know why they had certain colors. So I've done some research on that and I want to share that with you. The colors are determined by what they eat, their environment, the water that they're in, and it's also sometimes has to do with bacteria that gets trapped, sometimes from poop. So my first shell here that I wanted to show you were these little itty bitty pink shells. They're just wonderful. These guys live in sand, and we believe that between what they eat and where they live, they're camouflaged so that they blend in with the sand and can't be seen by their adversaries. Blue is the most rare color of all of the shells. And the blues that I brought for you are this mussel shell here. When you close them up, they don't look too blue, but when you open this, you can see they clearly have a blue tinge to them. The other reason that some of the shells are the way they are is to camouflage. And so this particular shell here is just incredible. You really can't even tell it's a shell until you open it. So this guy camouflaged himself very, very well from any predator. He looks like a rock, and that's it. These shells over here, I brought these because these are pretty much identical. So I believe that this is genetic, that these dots are a genetic thing, because they really are pretty much identical. This particular shell, this cone, this makes it designed from bacteria being trapped in the shell. And that is from poop most of the time. And the other thing I wanted to try to explain to you is how these shells grow. And it's a little bit difficult. This particular shell is very ruffled. You can see on its edge how this sticks out, this bar here. So if I go way back to when this was a little tiny shell, the only thing there was just this here. And then what happened was the guy came out, this is where his mouth was, and he came out and he made the shell and he turned. And he turned until he was this big now. And then after a while, when he started to grow again, he came out again, he turned all the way around to here. So now he's this big. And then his last turn was when he came out here, came out of wherever he was hiding, and he grew all of this shell to be this now. And I brought another one to try to explain to anybody because it's hard to see. You can see this part right here was just a small shell, and the mouth would have been right here. So then this guy came out and did his turn, and he was this big. See where his mouth would have been here? And then he came out from his rock or wherever he was hiding, and he grew all of this shell here to be this one now. So I hope you enjoyed my little segment on valentines, seashell valentines. And I hope maybe you learned a little bit about the colors of shells, what they eat, how they camouflage themselves, and a little bit about how they grow. Thanks for watching.